I've already expressed all my raw thoughts on the casting of Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom and his comeback in the MCU. I've already made a video on that, you can check that video out here. I've expressed, as I said, all my raw emotions about that, and I've also tried to kind of make sense of how that all could actually make sense. So you can check that video out here later. But anyways, in this video we'll be breaking down the entire Marvel panel at the San Diego Comic-Con 2024. We'll go through every major news, every major detail in the simplest form as possible and as quickly as possible. So let's start with the first one. So first of all, Kevin Feige comes on stage and he says that in this entire panel we'll be only talking about 3 upcoming movies from the MCU. Number 1, Captain America Brave New World, coming out on Valentine's Day next year. Then Thunderbolts with an asterisk sign on it. We still don't know what that asterisk means, but he said we'll talk about Thunderbolts, which is going to come out on 2nd of May 2025, and then we'll finish the panel with some discussion on the Fantastic Four movie that is going to come out next year on 25th of July. But then at the end of the panel he introduces the Russo Brothers, who were the directors of Captain America, Winter Soldier, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and he says that the Russo Brothers are going to direct the next 2 Avengers movies. And then he introduces Avengers Secret Wars, which is going to be the 6th Avengers movie coming out in the year 2017 in the month of May. And then he introduces the new title for the Avengers 5 movie, which is now Avengers Doomsday, coming out in 2026. And then the biggest surprise comes up: Robert Downey Jr. back in the MCU playing Doctor Doom in the 5th Avengers movie, which will possibly be introduced in the Fantastic Four movie itself next year, but we'll talk about that later. But now let's talk about the first news of the panel. That was about Captain America Brave New World. So new footage of the Captain America Brave New World movie was actually shown to the panel, and of course it was only for the eyes of the panel, not for the internet. Not that means it didn't release online, and of course that is what happens every time. But in that footage we got to see Thunderbolt Ross talking to Sam, or looking at Sam, and talking about rebuilding the Avengers. Of course, they have to rebuild the Avengers now. And then we got an update of the character of Giancarlo Esposito, because we didn't know what character is going to play, and now we have the confirmed news. He is going to play Sidewinder, who is also known as the King of the Serpent Society. And he's obviously going to play a major role in this movie. But we also got a reference of Tiamat, the dead Celestial from the Eternals movie. We got a mention of that in this trailer, and it was Thunderbolt Ross who was talking about that dead Celestial, that Tiamat. And then we got to know that Tiamat is going to be the source of adamantium in the MCU. Alright, so the adamantium is coming in, and we can't just wait to see Wolverine back in. Now let's talk about the second movie, Thunderbolts, with an asterisk sign on it. We still don't know, as I said, why that asterisk sign is, but the movie is coming out next year, 2nd of May 2025. And we got to see the Stranger Things star David Harbour donning his new suit of the Red Guardian and joking about that he thought that everyone was going to show up in the characters. Then the Thunderbolts trailer was also played at the event, and of course it was again for the people just at the panel and not online. But in that trailer we saw that Yelena was actually visiting Red Guardian, telling him the reason for her living is to kill others. And we also got to see that all the Thunderbolts are actually assigned to the same job. And we also got to see that the character of Ghost actually has a new costume as well. But then the second biggest thing happened, and that was about the Fantastic Four's announcement. So the Fantastic Four has a new title now, and the title is Fantastic Four First Steps, and the movie is going to come out, as I said, 25th of July 2025. And the director of the movie, Matt Shackman, also came on stage and he announced that the filming of the movie is going to start this Thursday. But hold on, this is interesting. The filming is going to start now, and the movie doesn't even have a year to come out. So within a year they are going to film it, VFX, CGI, all the post-production, and then they're going to release it. Well, I hope they make the date. But we also got to know that the setting of this film is going to be set in the 1960s, but it is going to be a different universe. Obviously, it is not going to be our universe, but in that universe, the 1960s are going to be like retro-futuristic kind of a setting. And then we also got a clip for the Fantastic Four movie. Now, of course, that clip was not a part of the movie because the filming hasn't commenced yet, but that clip was just shot for the panel, just for the event. And in that clip we saw Pedro Pascal's character, Reed Richards. He was actually teaching a science class. And we also got to see that the other members of the team were actually planning for the space mission, and at the end of that small teaser, Galactus, the main villain, was also teased. But there's one detail which I found pretty interesting, and that was that maybe the movie is going to be shot in 4:3 ratio, that means this ratio, and this ratio is generally used when you are showing flashbacks or when you are showing something specific to the TV ratio, and I found that interesting to be used in this movie because of course the movie is set in the 1960s, retro futuristic, so it's gonna give a different kind of a vibe, and it does look interesting to me. But then Joseph Quinn, the actor who plays the role of Human Torch and who is of course famous for the role of playing Eddie Munson in Stranger Things season 4, but he said that he feels like this movie is going to bring back that family kind of a vibe to the whole MCU. But now that was it for the 3 movies, and then came on stage the Russo brothers, who, as I said, talked about Secret Wars, talked about Doomsday, and introduced at the end Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. As I said earlier, I've talked about this in a different video, you can check that video out here. And please go down in the comment section and share your thoughts on all of these panel updates from the San Diego Comic Con 2024 about Marvel. And yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching.